What's up, Ham Radio? Kilo Echo 8, Papa Zulu November, the Ham Radio Adventure Guy here. Got another great show on for you tonight. We're going to be talking about some Pota Roving. We got James N6NRD slash VE3. He's going to be out here talking with us a little bit. And we're going to talk a lot of Pota. Real quick, I wanted to say thank you to the latest Patreons, James Jenner and Dwayne. We appreciate you guys and everything, all your support. And if you guys haven't checked out the Patreon yet, you should probably do that. Matter of fact, we're going to be doing a giveaway on Patreon. When we get 10 Patreons, it doesn't matter which tier, we're going to start our merchandise store. And one of the Patreons is going to get the first thing out of the merchandise store, whichever one we decide to go with. So the only thing is that there's 3 tiers, and if you get the bottom tier, you get 1 chance to win. If you get the middle tier, you get 2, and if you get the top tier, you get 3. So check it out, and if you're interested, there's a lot of interaction on there. You get a daily update from me, monthly Zoom call. So it's pretty cool stuff. But we'll get the show started here, and we'll bring out our guests. What's going on, James?
Oh, Pota.
I hear you, man. Yeah. Pota. I actually got to work James just a little bit ago. Him and his buddy was doing a double activator activation. So we wanted to work him. I wish I would have seen him earlier. I was out at the parks and actually got Dwayne and a few other guys. But what's been going on, man?
Well, doing Pota, and I'm in the middle of relocating from Pennsylvania to Ontario, thus the / Victor Echo 3 on my call sign right now until I get an Ontario call. So life's I don't have radio at my QTH yet, so right now the parks are keeping me on the air. So it's fortunate I have a park right here in town where I was at this evening. It's not that far away, so I can get out in the middle of the week after work and do some Pota on a Wednesday night. So I literally just, I bet you were sweating that a little bit because I was a few minutes later than expected getting home from the park.
I know. I could have talked for a little bit, and I would have brought Dwayne on here real quick to kept people busy. But yeah, I'm the same way. Normally during the week I got work, and then Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday and Friday I normally have football practice where I coach youths. But on Wednesdays I try to get to one of the local parks and do a little activation and get something in. And of course on Saturday and Sunday I kill it out there. So
yeah, I last weekend, my wife and I actually took the camper up an hour and a half north to a park. It was raining, but I got an inverted V up, and I did 255 or 260 QSOs in between Saturday and Sunday. That's my biggest weekend by far. So not a road, just a single park, and I just because it was raining, I just set it up on the dining room table in the camper, and whenever I felt like being on the radio and the band was good and the people were there, I was there. And that will be the last time I paper log. I had a nice I filled up a whole stack of paper. And when I got home, it took me about 3 hours to get them typed up. And I said, yeah, enough with that. So last night I got Hammer set up on the tablet, and I used that tonight. And there's no going back. I'll keep paper just for scratch, but
yeah, I've always got the paper with me, but the last time that I paper logged was my very first Pota activation. And after that was it. I'm like, no, I will never do this again. Because it's my first Pota, and I'm worried, can I type this stuff in fast enough and all this? So I was worried about it, but no. After that very first one, I was done.
Well, you're smarter than me. It took I think tonight was I want to say activation number 45. So if you did it on one, it took me 45. You're definitely smarter than me.
So yeah, last night I was listening to Clubhouse, and you came on there and was talking, and you're a lot of the things you're doing reminds me of myself, and I heard you talking about you would like to do all the 50 states, and that's definitely something that is, well, it's probably my very next goal after. My first goal was my first POTA activation was March the 21st of this year, and I said that I was going to do all the parks in West Virginia by the end of the year. And I had a couple of setbacks, and at the end of July, I still had 100 parks left. But August and September, I have just crushed it. I'm right now setting at 29 more parks in West Virginia, and it'll be done. I got 3 months. That's going to be a cakewalk. But next I want to start working on activating in every state, and I heard you talking about it, so I wanted to hear some of your thoughts on and plans with it.
Yeah, so it's a little early. Like I found the local. So I just upgraded general a week before field day this year, um, and I found a local who's on the Facebook group who was doing an activation. I said, "Hey, would you mind to tag along? I just want to see how you do it, and before I go out solo." And he said, "Sure, no problem." So I show up to Kilo 1384 Memorial Lake State Park in Pennsylvania, and we had a little rainstorm. We only got 18 contacts, and we spent about 20 minutes talking to a real nice police officer there at the beginning. That was July 2nd, my first activation, and I've been activating whenever I get a chance. So that kind of led me to the first rove, which was actually with Bo, uh, Kilo Hotel 7 Foxtrot Charlie, also known as the Lion Hawaiian. Hi, Bo. Um, if you're not watching, why aren't you watching? If you're watching, hello. So he said he was trying to work all parks in Delaware, which of course is, besides DC, it's the second easiest group. And I said, hey, I could take a day off work and come down. Just let me know when you're going to do it. So that was my first robe. Was actually with Bo. So he had done numerous robes, and he's done some sodas and things. So I was introduced to the robe by a kind of a pro. Um, and we did, I think it was 7 or 8 parks in one day. I went down the night before because I was about 3 hours away from where we wanted to start. So I went down and I actually activated the park on the way down just for fun. And then we did the road the next day. And I actually met Carrie, KB3WAV, and her husband, Ray. I can't remember his call sign, something RW. Uh, but we actually ended up doing a 4 operator park, the last park I did with them for the day. That was different. 4 activators. So that was my first rove. And then that was July 27th, midweek. And then that weekend, I was like, oh, this works for me. So I went and did a solo Pennsylvania rove with some of my local parks. Um, so the big one I did, the exciting one is, like I said, I'm in the process of moving. So I took a week and a half, 2 weeks off between my jobs. And on the way up to Canada from Pennsylvania, my wife and I, we went through New England, and I activated Connecticut and Rhode Island. And then my third row that I've done was actually 3 states. It was um, New Hampshire, Vermont, and Massachusetts, and the parks were about an hour and a half apart. So it was the bare minimum for a robe. It was 3 parks, and it took me a couple hours to get to the first park, and then an hour, do the activation, hour and a half, another activation, hour and a half, another activation, then another hour and a bit back to the campground I was at. So that was probably my most interesting robe, even though it was kind of the simplest one, just because it was 3 states. Um, so yeah, the robes are fun, but as far as activating all states, because my wife and I like to travel, we have the camper. I have family out west, so we plan on driving out there. We did it a number of years ago. We want to do that again. So we love camping, we love parks, and this kind of gives us a reason to kind of stay and chill at a park more than just staying the night and moving on. It gives us a reason to stay for a day or two and kind of relax and smell the roses, as it were, or depending where you are, the tumbleweeds. So that's kind of where it stemmed from. And then this opportunity came up for this job here in Canada. My wife got all excited. She's not a ham, but she got all excited because she knows all these parks up here in Ontario, and a lot of them are all-time new ones. So I'm actually going to be doing some roves here in Ontario locally, hopefully before the weather gets too bad. So yeah, that's kind of my POTA journey, and Rove just kind of slid into it, and I realized that as far as I could tell, nobody had activated all states or all provinces. I thought, okay, that's an interesting goal. That's something that a lot of people aren't going to bother or be interested in. And in fact, you're the first person that's actually mentioned, wanting to do that again. So I've done 12. I've activated 12 states so far, which I don't consider too shabby since I've only been doing POTA since July 2nd. So yeah, it's really sparked my interest in the hobby for sure.
That's pretty awesome. 12 since July 2nd. Because like I said, I started in March, and I think I've got 8 or 9 in. So probably my most interesting rove was I was going on vacation down to Florida, and I basically did on the way down, I got Virginia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Georgia, and then of course while I was in Florida, I got like 14 parks or so, and then on the way back, I got each state on the way back. So that was definitely my most interesting rove. But I do a lot of roves. I went out to Kentucky and did. I think it was a 5, whatever roving award 5 was. I don't even remember right at the moment.
Is that the rhino?
No, the rhino's 3.
So it's I have rhino, ostrich, and cheetah. So if it's not the rhino, it's the cheetah maybe.
Yeah, okay, the cheetah. Yeah, I've got the warthog, the ostrich, the rhino, the cheetah. All I need is the last 2, the 11 and the 9. See, and it seems like 8 is where I always end up getting. I was on track to do the 11 when my radio messed up and I had to send it to Yazoo. I got like 7 or 8 that day, but it happens.
I was actually, my Pennsylvania rove was supposed to be 11, 9 or 11. I can't remember. I have to look at my notes. But I was doing partial digital, and I just kept overheating my NFED half wave coil, and it wouldn't perform. So I was having some trouble getting sideband contacts. But part of that was because I was still learning a lot, and I've learned a lot more. I was doing a sloper. When I started doing an inverted V, I started having a lot better luck changing the takeoff angle. So there's been a few tricks that people have helped me learn. Trying to do FT8, high volume FT8 on NFED half wave light duty is just not a winning proposition if you're going to do a rove.
Right. Yeah. I've done a few FT8 activations on roves, but normally they will be like when I'm doing really late night stuff. I'll just chill at the park and do them. But normally I'm all single sideband. I know you're really lucky that you got to get out and see how it was done at first. I know when I was a hunter, I was like reaching out to like all the activators in West Virginia, and I'm like, just if you're going to do an activation, let me know. I'll drive to wherever. I just want to hang out and see how it's done. And of course, it was winter time, and most of them were being slack and not doing no activations. So finally, I just said forget it, and I got out there. But I did take a activator with me to teach him the ropes this past weekend. We got out and done 2 parks, both of them islands in West Virginia. How exotic is that? Islands in West Virginia.
Yeah. You could top it if it was a lighthouse on an island in West Virginia.
Yeah, that's true. I told somebody I spent the day on islands, and they're like, "Huh?" They're like, "You're in West Virginia." But yeah, there's actually one of them you have to ride a ferry to, and the other one has a bridge. But it was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's really good. VE3THR, who I was activating with earlier, um, I lived here in Ontario previously 10 years ago, and I've known him since then. And he was always an elmer to me, just in a lot of different ways. Even though I wasn't doing a lot of anything, um, and we've every Wednesday night we've been going out. I guess 3 or 4 in a row now. Three Wednesdays in a row that I've been here. So he's got some nice tricks with antennas, and he's really good with figuring out that kind of stuff. And there weren't a lot of activators here in the area. Uh, there's GKT. He's down towards Toronto. That's about an hour and a half south of us. But up here where I'm at, it was mostly hunters. Um, and I seem to have stirred a little bit of a hornet's nest. A couple of the guys got out and activated, but not to the level I'm doing, where I'm trying to do it like in the middle of the week and every weekend I possibly can. Um, so we're trying to get the activity going, because the way POTA is going to keep growing is by taking people with you and doing co-activations and show and tells like jamborees or whatever. I'm planning on doing. I'm hoping to do POTA before field day, possibly next year. Not to cross over into field day, but to do it before field day, um, and kind of get everybody's. Because a lot of people before, my only real HF experience was field day once a year.
Right.
And so I'm hoping maybe we have the parks weekends that are really great. They're very specific weekends. We try to get people out. So it's building, and I even in the what's it been 3-4 months I've been involved in doing it actively. I've seen a tremendous growth, and I think if we all keep doing it and we keep talking about it and we keep sharing and bringing other people along, I think it's doing great things for the hobby. I know there's some naysayers to it, um, but there's naysayers to everything in the world, one way or the other. But yeah, POTA is definitely exciting, and people ask me, are they, you're crazy, going to 11 parks in a row. You're not enjoying the park. I'm like, well, I kind of am enjoying the park, but I'm enjoying radio in the park. So
I mean, I gotta agree. Like, I love sitting at the house and hunting parks. I do. I mean, it actually is what really got me into ham radio, because I got my technician after my dad passed, and I did that to honor him because he always wanted me to be a ham. And I played around a little bit on it and stuff like that, and I did a little bit of DMRs. But one day I just hooked up his old radio and was just listening to HF, and I heard a POTA activation, and I sat there and I just listened, and I was like, that stuff's awesome. So I go start watching YouTube and checking out what this Parks on the Air is, and I'm like, forget it. I'm getting my general. I'm getting my general now. I got to do this.
Yep.
So I get my general, and I'm hunting. The very first day / Alpha Golf. Right off the bat, I'm hunting, and I ordered me a 991A, and once it came in, I started activating, and the rest is absolute history. I can't stop. Like,
yeah,
it's my addiction. I got a green screen up right now, but my walls are just absolutely POTA paper. I mean, it's wallpaper to wallpaper.
well,
So,
this is a brand new wall. It's bare sheetrock behind this curtain I put up just for you, because I just slapped this up 3 weeks ago. I haven't finished it yet, but I plan to turn in some wallpaper. So, but yeah, it's I was a technician for almost 29 years, and I just got my general, and it was because POTA. I saw a reason to get my general. It's something I could actually do on HF, because I wasn't really interested in the normal contesting. Um, and yeah, POTA can kind of seem like a contest, but it's not. You can run it whatever speed you want. If you want to do a QSO every 5 minutes, that's okay. Hunters are still going to hunt you, right? You don't have to
exactly.
do pileups. If you need to take a minute, like tonight, I was trying to learn hammers on my tablet, so I got your call wrong 3 times, and I knew who you were. And so we were having, Tom, my buddy, and I, we were having great laughs at each other, typoing things, and but we made it through, and that's the whole point, is laughing and having fun. And playing radio. I mean, last week it was raining cats and dogs, and we still put up a wire between trees and got in the truck and activated. So it's I can't say enough good things about POTA, and I really appreciate that there are so many people like yourself and N6NRD and the other ham radio clubhouse guys. Some of them aren't necessarily really active with POTA per se, but they let us talk about it, nonstop, and they don't, people don't really get tired of it. So my wife rolls her eyes at me occasionally. Are you doing POTA stuff again? No, honey, I'm doing my day job. I promise, I'm working. I'm thinking POTA while I'm doing my day job. I promise.
Absolutely. Like I'm at work, and I'm like, I wonder if I headed straight after work, if I could get to that. I know it's 3 hours, but I could do this.
Yeah.
I'm down to almost every new park to me now in West Virginia is like about 3 hours away. So I'm down to the nitty gritty. I do plan on a big weekend in October for the Support Your Parks weekend. I'm going to probably get about 10 parks out there in what I call the thumb of West Virginia. That's the West Virginia map.
Yeah,
and
between Pennsylvania and Ohio.
Yeah, but out there in the thumb, I'm going to get a bunch, and then I got to get it in the top of the big finger there. But other than that, I'm almost done, and I can start.
How many parks are in West Virginia?
100. Well, there was 128, and one of them shut down. And of course, I done activated that one. So, but it was a wildlife management area, and it lost its lease or whatever. So, okay. But yeah, it's not a whole lot. It's not like Florida. Like I'd be going forever in Florida.
Well, Ontario has almost 1,000 parks.
Wow.
And some of them are just flat out not accessible unless you're hiking for weeks. So some of them are just going to be forever at those, unless some crazy rich. I mean, if I won the gigantic lottery, I would start going after some of those really crazy parks, right? But we're talking something you got to. Okay, we have a certain friend. I won't mention anybody's name, but he likes to fall out of airplanes. He could activate those parks, but he's going to take a while to walk home. He could get into it pretty quick, but he's going to have a long walk home. But yeah, so realistically, I think we figured out that out of the 980 or 970 something in Ontario, realistically, 600 and change are accessible-ish. And of those 600 something, 300 and something of them are at those right now. And that's just Ontario. The rest of Canada is crazy. Because a lot of it is Ontario is huge. People don't realize how big Ontario is. Or, it's like people don't realize how big Canada is in general. But, it's a lot of distance to cover. And, it's kind of, I started doing POTA in Pennsylvania. So, going over to Delaware and New Jersey, no big deal, so it's a little different scale. We have parks here in Canada that are larger than some countries in Europe. And it's just nuts. It's go ahead.
Joseph says there's 915. He thinks
950. He might be right. I updated the database last night, but I haven't run the stats. So I have I pulled down the. Here's how much of a POTA nerd I am. I pulled down the CSV of all the parks, and I have my own database. I wrote my own code to do certain queries against the database.
Yes. Speaking of Joseph, I speak his language now. Like we did a park to park last weekend, and he gave me a 5.7, and I was like, "But I'm on 60 meters." He said, "Okay, 5.9."
He finally convinced me. This park I was at last weekend, he finally convinced me to get on 60. We were on Discord. And he was at a park, and he's like, "Get on 60, get on 60." I'm like, "Okay, I haven't done it yet on my radio. I got to figure out how to." It's in the memories. It's Yaesu. It's in the memories. I just hadn't figured it out. I figured it out, and the guy packed up on me. So Joe, you kind of burned a 60 meter QSO you could have had. So, but
Yeah.
I did get one with V3THR, my buddy Tom, since I was on 60. He jumped on, so I've gotten one. Last week I got one 10 band at my local park. I finally got a 10 band in the parks, and I got to do that 9 more times.
Yeah.
That's even with friends. Joe did the N1CC by himself. 10 bands, 10 parks.
Nice.
That takes like just the effort I went into to coordinate with my local friends to help me do that in one park. He did it on his own without coordinating with other people.
Yeah,
like that's effort. That's effort, and that's a little crazy.
It's a pain.
I'm still gonna beat him, but
it's a pain in the butt because I know I've only got 8 in my local park, which I have 20 activations and a kilo in, and I've got 8 bands. So I mean it's a little rough to get to 10 bands, especially in 10 parks.
So you have 20. So you have a repeat offender there.
Yeah, I do.
See, I haven't gotten it yet because I've done. So when I go on Wednesday, I make sure I go early enough to do for UTC Wednesday and UTC Thursday. So I'm getting 2 days out of it, but I still only have. After today's log, I might be up to 8 or 9 because I had one failed. We switched out antennas before 8 o'clock, so I didn't have no contacts for it to count. But yeah, it's gonna take me weeks longer at this rate to get that park, even repeat offender. So I'm kind of happy that my very first award in Pota was actually Support Your Parks Activator, and I didn't even realize it, but that was when I did my first solo activation. It was all FT8, and yeah, it was on that weekend, so I got a nice Support Your Parks Activator. And if I'd have realized, I'd have gone home and hunted and gotten the other side, but I didn't. Like that's how new I was to Pota. Like I wasn't even paying attention to the stats, or I think it took me 3 tries to get that login because even reading the FAQ, my brain was just going. It's funny. It's the logs are. The FAQ is really clear. The Pota program is not super complicated. They've done a really good job of explaining. Hey, here's how you send the logs. Here's the information we need. We don't need all this other stuff. They've done a good job with that, but sometimes I don't know. Is it because we're a little techie and we overthink things? But it just seems overcomplicated, and you just I call it fumble brain. But yeah, the log guys. We were talking to one of them last night. He was on the stream, and the guys that handle the logs, and sorry, ladies, I know there's a few ladies. My bad. The crew that handles our log submissions. That's crazy because I believe a lot of them are activators and hunters, and they're still handling our logs for us. Especially crazy people like us who are going and doing, 250 contacts in 2 days.
I can't say enough for Mike, the log coordinator for the 8-land. He is always on top of it. Like I send him an email, because I normally send them in late at night when I get home, and the next morning I get all set, and the next night it's on the page. Like he's always on the ball. I've never had any problems with him, and he does hunt because I've worked him a couple of times myself.
Yeah, because I'm a 6 call, obviously, I'm submitting to. I believe Todd's in California, the 6 handler. So unfortunately, just the way the bands are and everything, I don't get to work California a lot, so I don't know that if he's active hunting or not. But sometimes he's swamped. It takes a couple days, but like you can't complain because you know that they're doing a lot, and it's so back to what the whole purpose of this conversation was talking about robes. We got squirrels.
Yeah.
Rows so I kind of cheated when I did West Virginia. I went to Harper's Ferry, which is just on the other side of the river. I did Maryland, West Virginia, Virginia, all right there in one day. I will do West Virginia properly next to my drive-through. I'll pick a good park, and hey, maybe I'll look you up and we'll buddy up or something. I'm looking forward to doing that whenever I go places. Is getting a crew together, or at least one other person. And I've actually asked a few people, hey, you're from this state. If I could go to any park in the state and activate, which one would you recommend? So I've asked a few people that. I'm thinking of actually putting that up on a website, let people vote. And sometimes I'm gonna have to go a certain route on my, like if I'm going out to visit my family or something, I'll need to go a certain route, so I'm gonna be somewhat restricted. But if it adds 20 or 30 minutes to go to a park that a lot of people are recommending, okay, like so what's 20 or 30 minutes in a 40-hour drive? Right now, if I did that every single day, it adds up. But
Yeah, I'm the same way. I've already been talking to people about, when I go to certain states, hey, I want to come activate with you. And so, like Anime in the chat, I'm activating with her when I go out there. I've already got my Alaska. Jeremy, one of the guys from the Alaskan Roves, me and him's going to go. Actually, I might go when Dwayne and all them re-go next June. I'm trying to work that in the finances.
Oh, next June. Oh, I haven't talked to any of those guys. I worked with one of them. I haven't talked to them, but I might have to get on that one too.
You worked Dwayne today because he told me he said he even mentioned that he was going to be on the live stream tonight. I said good deal.
Yeah. Okay. Is that FDT?
Yeah, FDT.
Okay. W4 FDT, right?
Yep.
Wow. I usually can't pull call signs out like that. I'm surprised. So I'm actually little secret. I kind of let it go last night, so I might as well just say it again. I'm actually in the process of talking to one of the couples in Quebec that hunts and activates out of Montreal, and hopefully we're going to be able to get together sometime in the next month or so. I'm hoping, and I'll jump over to Quebec and get another province, but also do a three operator activation. That'll be fun. But yeah, it's like obviously if I go to Texas, I'm going to be looking up Shane and Tank and Mike and all those guys. My dad's out in Oregon, so I would love it. I believe this is going to be bags. This is going on YouTube.
Well,
I believe my dad's wife has a ticket as well. I know my mother does. Anyways, when I go to Oregon to visit my dad, I'm hoping to get my dad and hopefully Wild Cascadia Radio. I would love to meet somewhere in the middle and do a 3 or 4 operator activation. Because that, to me, I'm not a super social person. I like radio because I can talk to people without them being in my space. But I found that doing POTA with people, you're doing it with 3 or 4 people. Like you're not going to get 20 people doing a POTA activation. That would just be the logistics. It would take you an hour to get through one QSO, So and even Tom and I have done 3 activations together. No, sorry, we went out on a Saturday, so we've done 4 or 5 activations now together, and we're just getting in our groove of handing the mic off. It's just the simple things that make everything smoother, right? Like where do we position so that we can both log, we can both see the radio, handing the mic off. Who's gonna control the flow? Who's gonna control the pile up? Like tonight it was me. We did an activation a couple weekends ago, and he kept playing with the antenna. So it was like, okay, don't transmit. He grabbed the end of the antenna and moved it around. It was an infant halfway, so we were trying to get a good angle. And I was hunting parks. And we spent the entire day hunting, and actually I got my first Alaska park that day. So yeah, I'm always excited. I don't know. I don't know. Do you get excited when I set up on my way here? I stopped at a park in New York, and my very first contact, I was on Lake Ontario there, upstate New York. I could see the lake from where I was. My very first contact, 20 meters, was a park in Scotland.
Yeah.
And I got a park to Scotland. And I was so excited. I was in the pavilion. I was so excited. I dropped the mic on something soft. Don't worry, I didn't abuse my radio. I dropped my mic on my bag. I went running across the park. I'm 41. I went running across the park like a little kid, yelling at my wife, I just got Scotland. I just got Scotland. Because I was so surprised. On 20 meters, it wasn't gray line yet. The sun was still up for me, just barely. It's just like, but that gets me excited. Of course, I got back to the radio. I'm all out of breath. It took me 10 minutes to get my second contact.
Yeah, absolutely. When I was down in Florida, I got on one activation. I got the Netherlands, England, and Puerto Rico, and I was on cloud nine. Like,
Yeah.
I think I only did like 20 some contacts that day, but those three made the whole thing.
Yeah, I've got one park in Spain now, one in Scotland, and obviously a lot of Canada and U.S. I haven't been able to work a park in Puerto Rico. I've gotten a couple of hunters from Puerto Rico. I haven't been able to get a park yet. I would really love it if the guys that make hex beams want to send me one to test out in the wilds of Ontario. Completely different environment than the barren landscape of Alaska that we saw recently. How does it work in tree cover? But yeah, that's kind of. I'm really thinking something directional, especially when I start going farther up north.
Right. So back to doing your states. I'll tell you one that might work out for you too. There is a bunch of us that is going to be. I had planned on going myself, and then Jason 2.0 started talking about it. So next summerish, we ain't got a date yet or nothing, but we're supposed to go up to Maine, and all of us do the first parks on the air park.
That's Kilo 0001. You mean?
Yep.
Starts with an A. What's it called?
I don't even remember.
Oh man. See, now I have to go to the Pota website because that's gonna drive me crazy.
So I mean that'll probably be a pretty
Acadia.
good time.
That's Acadia.
Yeah, that'll probably be a pretty good time, and of course I'll do everything all the way up there.
Well, yeah. So when I just did New England, I didn't go all the way to Maine because that was an extra 5-hour driving round trip minimum to get to the first park, and it didn't look really activatable. It looked like it was in a city. It was like a landmark or something. So I didn't do Maine. So that's my last northern state here. But my wife and I plan to go out to New Brunswick and Nova Scotia at some point. So we figure we'll drop down, drive through Maine. I can get Maine on the way out. It's kind of what we're planning. So, but yeah, if it happens to work out timing wise, right now, obviously with the pandemic and the border restrictions going back and forth, but maybe hopefully by next summer we've got this all under control and the flow of traffic is going again because I'm only a couple hours from the border, New York or Michigan. So like I want to pop over to Michigan. I'm gonna go and camp out in temporary offline's backyard and steal his park from him, and
There you go, man. That's the way to do it. I don't know. I feel like I have a pipeline up there to Canada. I work a lot of Canadian stations. I mean, most of the guys that hunt or activate up there, I've worked, and I worked them quite a bit. So, yeah, when I first started working you and your buddy, I just thought you were on vacation up there or something. I was like, man, this guy's been up here for like a couple of weeks. What kind of jobs he got, man? I want this.
Well, so it's kind of sad because I'm married to Canadian. My wife's from here. And like I said, I lived over here for 10 years before, from 2001 to 2012-ish, 10-ish years. But I didn't have HF privileges. Pota wasn't around. But yeah, I could have got, been a lot more active had Pota been around then. So, but yeah, I had a job opportunity here, so I came back. But yeah, my wife's from here, so that's my connection. But yeah, they used to call me the local DX. I think that was what Tom used to call me, the local DX. Whenever I got on the repeater. But yeah, now because I'm living here, I'm operating HF. Obviously, I'm doing the /VE3 for rules and regs purposes. But it's a mouthful and a pile up. And it's I have a little bit of the same situation. Like somebody gets a bow and they're like, "Oh my god, I got Hawaii." No, Virginia. You got Virginia. When you get bow. I've had a couple people. My God, I've got California. No, I'm in Pennsylvania. Well, now it's even worse. Uh, it's like, wait a second, your park is Kilo, blah blah blah. No, 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 Victor Echo. It's a Victor Echo park. It's made some QSOs interesting, especially when you got the 3 3s and the 4 4, situations. But it's all fun. It's all fun, and everybody's good natured about it. And sometimes it takes a couple extra back and forths to get through it, but a lot of people get that. And you can log me as N6NRD or N6NRD/VE3. I'll get the credit on Pota, however you prefer to log it. But yeah, I plan to get a VE call, and when I do, I'm trying to decide if I'm going to be stealthy and not tell people it's me for a while until I get a bunch of stats and then just boom onto the scene. I don't know. I don't know if there's any fun in that.
Well, I mean, your POTA stats will transfer over anyway.
Yeah, that's true. I just gotta add the call sign to my profile. I was just pulling up the map from this evening. You were talking about a path. We did 100 QSOs. So this map is a little bit of a cluster, literally a cluster of maps. But we have this kind of channel. We got Maine, but we went Mississippi, Arkansas. Like we had this swath kind of following the Appalachian Trail, actually, and the Appalachians themselves. So it's although for some reason one of my Canadian calls says they're in Kansas. Interesting. VA3 in Kansas. Yeah, I don't think so. So when you're traveling, like are you like, for me, I decided that for most states, I just want to make sure I get one good park. If I can get a couple because I'm there for a little while, that's cool. But I want to get one park in every state. What have you set any thresholds or kind of mentally just do you want to do like a minimum of 3 or any? Are you looking for particular parks or just any park will do? Like, have you mentally kind of started putting those rules in place for yourself?
Well, originally, I just wanted to do one park in every state, and then Bo and somebody was talking about a different award, and I still ain't even seen this award, but something about if you got 5 parks in every state, it was a different award. So I'm wanting to find out if because if that's the case, I mean, I might as well do 5.
Yeah, if there is an award for that, next time I cross the border, I'm going to go back to Connecticut and Rhode Island, and I'll do 4 more in each. That's cool. I'm this way when I play computer games too. I find the weird achievements. Uh, like I used to play World of Warcraft back in the day, and there was one achievement if you went and petted all these different random animals, and you got it's years ago, so some World of Warcraft person's probably yelling at me, "Oh my God, you're a moron!" But it was something like Zookeeper or something like that. But I went and did that kind of stuff just because it was interesting and odd. Not a lot of people were doing it, so that's kind of like that's what I like about Pota is, yeah, there's these awards and there's these things you can do that other people are also doing, but you can also set your own thresholds and set your own achievements, even if they're not official, right?
Exactly. I mean, and that's something I do. I want all the POTA awards, but then there's other goals that I want for myself and stuff. Like for example, this was my first year doing Black Weekend, and it rained the whole weekend here, but all I wanted to do was finish in the top 10, and I finished 9th. So next year I want to finish in the top 5, and then the year after that I want to make a run for it. So that when I say top 10, I mean in most parks activated, because that's what I like to do. I like to try to go for the most in a day. I do. I like that kind of stuff. And and then there's like a lot of people who watch some of the streams, if they don't follow my stream specifically, they might think that me and N6NRD have beef, and we don't. I give him crap because he calls himself the Pota Daddy. So and I tell him that I'm the Pota Daddy. So we go back and forth about it, and we've had a couple of spills, and it's all fun.
Yeah.
But I would love to get up with Mike and do a photo competition.
Oh.
And I'm always trying to compete with everybody. Matter of fact, I heard you last night say on Clubhouse that you would like to learn CW, but you had a some kind of hearing disability.
Yeah, I have a crushed inner ear. So basically, there's a lot of frequencies I can't hear and a lot of repetitious sounds. My ear and my brain just don't separate them out. So whether
Right.
it's like I could be a fire truck going by, I'll see stars because it's so intense for me. Fire alarms in the building, those kind of things. So we've tried different frequencies. With the Morse code, we've tried running it through equalizers. The problem is DIT and DAW. They start blurring together because, like, even when you're speaking to me, I'm thinking about what you're saying because I'll miss a word and I'll run through a dictionary in my head and figure out what word might fit there that he might have said. So on the radio, it makes it interesting because, let's say you got one of those 3 3s and you're trying to pick out what they're saying and your brain's trying to insert. That's not a good habit to have necessarily on radio when you have bad signal. So what I was saying is I just need to figure out how to get past that and find a different way to train my brain to recognize it. And some of the guys have given me some ideas. Right now, I want to concentrate. I was already studying for my extra. As soon as I passed my general, I started studying for extra. And mostly because I don't want to have to look at the band plan every time I'm looking for an open spot to activate. Because some days it's like there is no open spots to activate. And then I just go hunt, so it's cool. But I realize we don't really want to activate in the extra, but I figure as more activators and hunters are extras for the times when it's super busy, it gives us a little more landscape. But I'm also studying for my Canadian call. So I want to get those two things done: amateur extra in the U.S., get my Canadian advanced, basic with honors, which is roughly equivalent to advanced U.S. used to be, as I understand it, and then I would like to see if I can figure out a way Morse code because I want to start doing QRP, and I want to actually have a little like a laptop bag radio, like a PAC-10, a QRT, a QRP radio, and a key. And I would love to be able to do that and be able to do QRP CW. Nothing stopped me from doing QRP at sideband. I just life's too short for QRP sideband for me.
Right. So what I was getting at is I'm deaf in my right ear. Okay. I had brain cancer about 6 years ago, and after the surgery, I lost all hearing in my right ear, except for I can hear like extreme high pitched sounds, like sounds that most people can't hear. Mm-hmm. I can hear in my right ear, and I'm the same way. I'm getting ready to I'm studying for my extra, and I'm getting ready to get at, and then I want to start learning CW. So I challenge you, and you challenge me not to do it first, but I want us to make a CW contact together because we have that bond of we had to go through more to learn it.
Yeah. No, I'm not quite fully deaf in one ear. It's about 65-70% deaf in one ear. I imagine it's different for you because you had it. I've never had it. I've been this way since birth.
Okay.
So I imagine it's different for you because you lost it. Like how if you don't mind me getting a little off track, how did that change how you dealt with your surroundings when you did you start doing the head twitch a lot?
Yeah, well, I mean, I didn't at first. I've learned that if there's people to my right, I've learned to start turning my head. It's horrible when I'm driving because when I'm driving, if you're on the passenger side, you can forget it. I have to look forward, and I'm not going to hear you.
Yeah.
But I tend to always sort of look in that way to where I can catch some of it. I had a boss at work one day. He's like, "Can I talk to you?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Do we have a problem or something?" And I'm like, "No." And he's like, well, for like the last 3 days, I've spoke to you and you've just kept on going. And I was like, are you talking into my right ear? He said, well, I don't know, maybe. I was like, well, I'm deaf in my right ear. And he's like, oh, I'm so sorry. but yeah, I actually brought somebody on the show here because
Okay.
you mentioned something about you would like to go to Alaska. So what's up, Dwayne?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
What's going on, Dwayne?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. James is also interested in doing a Alaska Rove, and he's wanting to do all 50 states like me. So I figured, why not bring in Dwayne? He's been once and he's going again in June.
Yeah, we had a great time. It was fun up there, and can't wait to go back.
It looked like you had a good bit of fun. Now you were planning like 25 parks, right?
Well, no, we knew we couldn't get that many parks in for the weekend. We were just going to work Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We had planned on going north of Anchorage up to Denali and around. But the last minute we checked the weather and it was going to be pretty rough, so we went south. So we stayed on the coastline. I did 11 parks, I think it was, in the weekend, and we still had a great time. Still was about 600 or 700 miles, round trip. We had a wonderful time, and we're going to go back, and we'll go back to the north next time, trying to get in the mountains and see how that works out.
Yeah, I would. So you guys really. I don't know if you caught it, but I'm relatively new to Pota. I've only been doing it for like 3 or 4 months now, and I have all kinds of great ideas. It's like I don't know if I can make any of them happen, but I would love to. Eventually, I'll get to Alaska, but I'm thinking, setting something up to go to the other hard to get, which is Hawaii.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Getting something planned where there's a few people going to Hawaii and doing basically around the clock as much as weather and bands permit, but doing around the clock 3 or 4 operators or something, and try to give everybody a chance to get Hawaii as much as they can, because like it's I got Alaska a couple weeks ago. I was really surprised. I've actually gotten Alaska parks twice now, but Hawaii, I don't see that happening for me from up here. But
there's 3 or 4 people in Alaska that work a lot. KL70, C. Jeremy, and then you got I forget his call sign already, but Eric, he's the other guy. Now he does a lot of digital. He's FT8, FT4, things like that. But now Jeremy does a lot of sideband. He does some digital, but most of his activations are sideband. And Eric's more digital. Then there's a couple other people. There's a female. I've got her in the log too. She goes up just when the weather's good. She goes back and forth. And then there's 2 other people, and I've got them in the log too, but you don't hear them much. It's usually Jeremy and right now the female. There's a guy with a W in his call. I'd have to look at my log, but you hear him sometimes too. But you don't hear many activators in Hawaii at all, and that's a highly sought after place. If a group went to Hawaii, they would, that would be a major deal.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I would want to warn everybody like 6 months in advance that we were doing it, so they could all go buy beams and get them set up so they can point to the islands.
A lot of it's timing, the time difference out there, just like it was in Alaska. The time difference, they got to know when to look for them. There's people out there that activate. You just got to know when to look for them. And right now, there's KK USY or something like that. Isn't he out there on a trip? I think he activated once or twice already this week. And there's a Japanese call sign that's out there activating right now too, and he's been doing it for about a week and a half. And he's been coming in for a couple hours a day, and people are able to get him.
Oh, excellent.
And he's been doing a little bit of sideband and digital, but I've been at work every day when he's been spotted. And I just sit there all jawed up because I can't do anything about it, But it is what it is. Yeah, Chuck, KK6 USY. I think he's out there, if I'm not mistaken. I think I saw I saw him activate, or somebody said he was activating. And then the other call, somebody put it in the chat, KL2WX. He's doing a lot of Alaska activations right now.
Anime said if somebody paid our way that she would wear a bikini in Hawaii. I just said if somebody pays our way, I'll wear a bikini in Hawaii.
Me too.
I'd wear. Yeah, somebody paid my way.
I don't think nobody want to pay for that, but I'll do it.
Give me a buddy hex.
Yeah,
I would wear a Speedo the whole time.
Well, Dwayne's got a buddy hex, so.
Well, there you go, Wayne. All you gotta do is cough up some airfare and give me your buddy hex, and I'll even buy my own Speedo.
My mom's planning a trip out to Hawaii next year, and she keeps wanting me to go with her. So that may be a good reason to go. Take some gear and at least do a couple parks while I'm out there, just to see how it works. But if I was planning a trip out there, I would do the same thing as we're going to do in June for Alaska. Do a lot of research on the band openings, things like that. Because we got into an issue where 20 meters was pretty much it. And, working from Georgia, I thought, we worked 40 meters all the time, and got up there, 40 meters was just nothing. And then with the time zones and the difference in the time and the things like that, we ran into some roadblocks, but we had a great time. We got a lot of contacts, but it took us, a little bit to think, well, hold on, what do we need to be working right now? It wasn't like down here.
Do you know off the top of your head how many contacts you got for the whole weekend?
No, because we didn't go for amounts. We just went to make sure we activated the park, and if we stopped getting calls, we would just pack up and move on. But there were some parks that we just got enough to activate the park. There was others where we had a lot of callers, and we took more time at that park. And then when the call stopped, we packed up and moved on. And that's one of the reasons why we didn't do all the parks that we planned on doing, is because there were some parks we spent more time at than we originally planned on, because people were calling and we didn't want to shut it down.
That actually comes back around to one of the points about Pota Roves. Is it's always hard for me when I'm playing a rove. I don't want to stop in the middle of a pileup just because I know I have a schedule.
Right.
So I get what you're saying, especially somewhere like Alaska where people are trying hard to get you.
Well, we had agreed to that ahead of time. A lot of people wanted to get Alaska, and it wasn't fair for us to say, okay, we would rather get 12 parks than let everybody get that contact. And so if we had people calling us, we stayed there. I see somebody in chat asked about QRO digital. No, I don't think he did. Eric ran digital the whole time, and I think he ran QRP, and that's what he normally does. Now, he had an amp with him. He may have ran some QRO, but I'm not sure. He activated pretty much his own deal, and then he came over and worked sideband with us once we got set up. He would get there first, get set up, and because he had it didn't take him 10 minutes to be on the air. So he was making his digital contacts while we were setting our antennas up and getting the gear out. And then when he got what he needed to activate the park, then he moved over with us, and it was about time to get on there with us. So that's kind of how that worked out. But we'll have a little bit different plan in June, and I think we're gonna have a lot more people, which is good. I'd love to take a crowd up there. And what we would do and what we've talked about is, we'll take the park list that we plan on hitting, and we'll have 2 or 3 teams if we have enough people, and they will go to different parks. We'll do, we'll swap around, so we don't have everybody at the same park at the same time. And so you may have a crew go and work a park ahead of us, and then come meet us, and we go there and they work the park we just left, or something. But that's well in the future, and we don't know how many people we're going to do. But I worked you today, QRP. I got the 5105 in today, and I hooked it up to my antenna at home, and it's just an end-fed, and or not end-fed. It was a off-center fed dipole, and tried to see how much POTA I could work, from here. And I worked you. I worked N6NRD. First time I'd worked him. All the POTA stuff he's done, and all the POTA stuff I've done, it's the first time I've worked him. And we were QRP from Texas to Georgia. So I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah. I remember my first time working him. I was quite excited. So, I got somebody who's actually somebody. Like, everybody's somebody. Don't get me wrong.
Oh yeah,
but,
yeah. I know.
Of all the YouTubers, he was the first YouTuber I got. And then last weekend I got Shane and Tank, and they had a friend with them. I can't remember the other call sign, but so now I've got both of you tonight, and I think I got you, Dwayne. I think I got you once before. I'd have to check my log.
Yeah, you probably did. I know that when I pulled it up, I put your stroke call sign in there, so it didn't search the pass log. But I thought that sounds familiar, because I'd last night when I saw you on the stream, I was like, that call sign sounds familiar. And I also got Jim today too. He was at a park, and I got him too. But I've started to like QRP, and I'll probably take that out and do an activation this weekend with it. So I like that kind of stuff.
You know, a lot of people are dead against it, but I had good luck when I did QRP. I never failed a single activation on QRP. So it's all about the antenna.
Yeah, it definitely is. I use my 891 a lot, and then I wanted to do a little QRP. You guys, not you, but some of the other guys had the 705, and I have a love-hate thing with that radio. I really like it. It's a cool radio. It's got all the things on it, but it's expensive for 10 watts, in my opinion. And so that was my problem. I was like, I got the 7300, I've got the 891. Why would I spend that much money on a 10-watt radio? So I had a buddy that had one. I was like, just let me borrow it. Let me do an activation with it and, see what I think about it. And I kind of fell in love with the radio. It was a super nice radio. It's got a lot of good stuff on it. But again, budget. And so I got to looking, and I thought, well, I want to get my own QRP radio. So I looked at the Xiegu or Zygo, however you say them. They've got a G1M that was, I think it was $260 for the digital SWR radio. And so I thought, well, I'll try that. So I bought that, and the speaker on it is not much to talk about, but when you hook headphones to that thing, it sounds amazing. And I made a bunch of contacts on it from the home, and I thought, well, I'm going to take this out and do Pota. But I always wanted the 5105, and I found a really good deal on it, so I bought it. And I think that'll be in the bag for quite a while, because I can charge it, keep it together with a couple antennas, and keep it in the car, and it'll be something I use when I go out.
Come back to your planning comment about the Alaska trip.
Sure.
I'd be very interested in how you go about that and what you actually look at, because as I mentioned last night in the stream, when I'm trying to do the provinces here, some of them like Nunavut and Northwest Territories are potentially going to be relatively complex, Alaska level or more, to try to do, and I would love to do them with other people so that we have better chances. So the plan you go through, I'd love to find out what you're doing and what you learn through that process, because I think for doing some of the Canada locations, it's going to be interesting. There's probably some interesting bullet points that we could make a checklist of doing remote activations, like really remote, hard to reach, hard to contact, a long way away kind of, If I was a gajillionaire, I would just hire a float plane to just fly me to all these little parks, right? But
yeah,
have you ever met a ham operator who's a gajillionaire? No, because even if we had millions, we bought all the radios. We bought all the radios. We don't have millions anymore, right?
Well, one of the things that we talked about in our planning stages, because right now, again, it's a little ways away, and we all have gear. We all have gear that we use every day. We all have tried and tested gear. But the thing is, like you just said, that's remote. Our gear that I would use here at home is kind of hard to take with us up there. We did take the Buddy Hex. We'll take that back too, but simply because that gives us some gain. But that's what you got to look at is the antennas. I mean, the radios are, you can have as many radios as you want, but the antenna is the key. And timing, when are you going to operate? You can't go up. And we made this mistake. We went up there thinking, okay, we're going to operate just like we operate at home. And you can't do that. The timing is different. The propagation is totally different. The weather's different. So we're going to rely more on, Jeremy. He's going to do a lot more testing for us and propagation and, the timing and when is the best time to activate, things like that, because he would just go out when he could. He didn't really, he wouldn't trying to think of any kind of major plan. He just went out and operated after work every day, and that's the same thing we do here. And so now we'll kind of do a little bit more, I guess, look at it as a scientific way, and the best we can, and look at timing, look at antennas that we can get some type of gain out of, things like that. So, like I said, it's a long way away, but those are things that we're going to look at. We had the right gear, we had the right stuff, we had a great time, we made contacts. Just like, we did what we went up there to do and had a great time. But when we go back, I think we're going to, instead of looking at a bunch of parks, we're going to look at some quality activations where we can sit and, and work for quite a while. That's probably going to be the goal this time. We'll pick 2 or 3 or 4 good parks that we know that, will work well for us, and those are the ones we'll hit. But again, that there's plenty of time for that to change 2 or 3 times between now and then. But that's just how it is. But one thing I got on my mind is, it's a different subject, but I do want to bring it up before I forget about it. For those of you out there that use DMR, there's a talk group for Pota. It's 3181. And I joined it this afternoon. I programmed on radio. Joe Brett was there already. Shane programmed his radio this afternoon. There was 2 or 3 people already there. Had a great QSO with a guy from Texas. And so hopefully that's something we can start populating and get some people in there where we can just talk when we want to, and that's pretty cool. And but anyway, I just want to mention that while I had it on my mind. It's talk group 3181. It is set aside for POTA, so that's pretty neat for everybody that uses DMR. I know not everybody gets into DMR, but if you have one, that would be pretty awesome to catch everybody in there anytime you want to. You can just monitor it or whatever. But just another way for us to, as a community, to get together and have ideas and have a net and kind of check in with each other and things like that, other than Discord.
Somewhere on QRZ right now, there's an old man saying that's not radio.
Yeah, I know, but that's okay.
I faced a lot of that. I got my license in the early '90s, and packet was the new thing back then, and I got quite a bit of that. And for a 12 or 13-year-old to be told that's not real radio, like that was real. Fortunately, my dad was a ham, so I knew that everything was cool. But like that kind of attitude about new modes or refinements to modes, it's destructive to the hobby in general, and it's I mentioned before that I wasn't real active for 2 decades of having my license because I had some run-ins with essentially some OEDs and some lids saying that kind of stuff. But fortunately, I have a stack of QSL cards from when I was 12, 13 years old. I was doing 2-meter packet, and I have a stack of QSL cards from as far away as Lebanon and Turkey.
That's pretty awesome at that age.
Oh yeah, it was awesome, and somehow in all the moves, my dad managed to save them, and I actually have them now, and they're going to go up behind me on my wall at some point, along with awesome QSL cards. So, but yeah, it's kind of sad that we face that. Like I've already heard that. I just started doing FT8 field day, and that was by accident. Everybody bailed at field day, and I'm running 80-meter HF. I just become a general. I'm running the 80-meter station, and 30 feet away, I'm running into the MCOM trailer we've got the FT8 on, and I'm trying to do both for 3.5 hours between like 2:30 in the morning and 5 a.m. when people start showing back up.
Trial by fire.
Oh, trial by fire. I had 25 sideband QSOs and 70-something, 60-something FT8s. I learned FT8 the hard way.
Yeah. Well, we had a big conversation about that on the local repeater. We had some of the older guys on a local repeater, and they're all great guys. Some of them have been my Elmer and got me into the hobby, but they have a problem with it. CW is the only real mode. If you don't know CW, you don't know this. And I understand where they're coming from. They worked hard to get their ticket with the CW, and now we don't have to work like that. But the whole FT8 and the is not real radio argument and things like that. Well, we're always trying to find new ways to get people in the hobby. And if we want to get these younger guys into the hobby who walk around with their cell phones all the time and that's all they think about because that's what they know, introducing them to a way to hook a radio up to their computer and still do what we can do with it and still make contacts, at least that gets them interested in the hobby, and that's all it takes. The next step would be, maybe they'll pick up a microphone after that, but they're still in the hobby and they're still making contacts and still doing what we do. And so I don't care if it's with dits and dahs or if it's screaming your call sign or if it's typing back and forth for PSK and FT8 and all those things. At least the hobby is still there. And we're still experimenting with radios and we're still making antennas because you got to do those things. You can't just use a computer. So, I mean, it's still advancing the hobby and we're getting people, newer in the hobby and younger. And I don't have a problem with it, but that's just me.
Yeah. I'm sure at some point there was a group of people that, when we stopped using spark gap and tubes, for example, oh my God, you're using a transistor radio. That's not real amateur radio. I'm sure just like every other technology,
Well, things evolve, things evolve, and that's the FT8. There's there's a new mode out, and that I read about, and there'll be new modes after that, and things evolved, and if we can get younger people in that a lot of people are mic shy, and getting them into FT8 so they can sit down and realize what it's like to make contact with someone across the world. Even if you don't have to say anything, just the excitement of that gets them keeping them in the hobby. And, there's people that, can't talk, just like Pota like I heard you guys say earlier, how it's kind of proliferating. And yeah, it is. I won't say Pota saved ham radio. I won't go that far, but I will say that it gave it a shot in the arm. Because ham radio was getting stale. There wasn't anything new going on. You got older people running off the younger people because, again, they're getting mad because they're getting told they didn't, earn their ticket because they didn't have to learn CW, things like that. And that's, that I almost quit, over some stuff like that. But, Parks on the Air, well, perfect example. I've got two guys here locally. Neither one of them can get out and do a lot of activations in the park. They've never activated the park, but both of them just this week got their worked all states from Pota. And they just got started in it because I bugged them about it, And now, I mentioned this in Discord today, when I get home from work, I'm usually jawed up because there's people that I need for my worked all states on while I'm at work, and then they're gone when I get home, But when I get home and hit the 2 meter repeater, one of those guys is always there saying, man, I got this one today, or I got that one today, and he's already, almost to his 1,000 contacts in Pota. And it really gave him a reason to set his radio during the day. And he got another guy involved in it. And, Pota just catches on like that. And, they've never been to a park.
Yeah. And Pota, so I come from a development background programming. There's a concept called gamification, which is the whole theory behind computer games, but it's a way to entice people to do the next thing. It's a mission achievement based thing, and Pota has brought that. Contesting did it a little bit, but that was big bursts in short periods usually. We've always had worked all states or worked all grids or the different things, but Pota is a very specific but yet non-specific way of adding that gamification, that that level of involvement to people. And like we were saying at the beginning here, whether it's the three of us, I work both of you tonight with a friend. The three of us could get together and activate, or we can work each other individually. Like there's so many different aspects. You can make the program, the Pota program, for example, you can make it work for whatever you need. If you have somebody who's homebound, then hunting could be a great thing for them to give them something, like you're saying, something to do during the day.
Yeah.
And yeah, it might rub you, like you hear about later. Like I got XYZ, and you think, oh man, I wish I could have done that. But you're like, you're going to get a chance to get it, and they're sleeping.
Yeah.
Or something, right? So
well, I mean, it didn't make me mad. I'm
No.
certainly glad that they're doing ham radio. That and they're out doing POTA. That's awesome. It's kind of one of those neener. I got these guys today. And you're at work. Well, that I don't. I don't care about that because I go activate the parts. That's what I like to do. I sit at home and I hunt when I can, but I like to go activate the parts. Well, they can't, so they do that side of it. There's something for everybody, and
yeah, exactly.
and I'd like to get my worked off states. I've got 5 more, I think, and I'll have them all, and I'll get it eventually. But I don't know. It just gives them something to do. They, and it makes it fun. It's kind of a friendly competition type thing, and we've got this thing with our club. We're starting to go out on the weekends and in a local park and getting some of the older guys to come out with us and let them activate a park. We just decided that we were going to do this. In the next coming weekend, we're going to get all the guys that haven't activated the park that can come out. We'll get them and we'll pass the mic. We'll let them all get their 10 contacts to activate a park. That'll be their first park activated. We'll show them how to do hammers, which is an awesome logging program. Jarrett, you did a wonderful job on that. Yeah. Those that's got their laptops, if not, they can paper log, which brings me to another fact. You mentioned that.
I used my tablet tonight with hammers. It was great. First time.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great program. Jarrett did a wonderful job. And I remember when he first talked to me about it, he was like, well, I think I can route up because, Hamlog 7.3, I think it was, or whatever it was, is what most people use. It was like Jarrett's program, kind of. And it come off the store for both. The guy that did it just kind of stopped, and when it started going away, and so everybody was dying for a replacement, and he just happened to step in and said, I think I can do something like that. And what he done with it was the Hamlog 7.3 was an awesome program for what it did, and I'm not downing it whatsoever. But what Jarrett did was took the gauntlet and kept moving with it. He's added a lot more features. He's done, and there's a lot more things to come. And he's just done a wonderful job. And it takes somebody like that with the know-how to say, whoa, here's a void. Let me see if I can fill it. Same way that Pota did with, ham radio. Hey, there's a void. There's people. We need to get these people out in parks, do some things. It wasn't a new concept. There's been national parks in there. There was flora, fauna, and it was all kind of the same concept. And Jason just kind of, took it and moved it to a next degree and brought it to the U.S. And because the flora, fauna, I think, was worldwide. And he brought it to the U.S. and gave people a reason to chase paper awards. It's something as simple as a paper award that you have to print out yourself. Because I remember my first thing, I thought, I even asked in the forums or in the Facebook, I was like, well, do they send this in the mail or do I need to pay something? And they're like, no, man, you got to print that out. I'm like, well, that's cheesy. I want a next one, and I just kept getting them. But like I said, it was a shot in the arm to me, I think, and it got me out in the parks, and I love it. I try to go anytime. I get mad when I can't go.
Yeah, I liked it. For me, in my situation, like I said, my wife's not a ham. Probably not going to be. But she enjoys parks. She enjoys, camping or glamping, as some people call it at this stage. But, my wife and I get to spend time together, and we have a couple dogs, and it's something we can all do together. But none of us are particularly bored. Like, I'm not a guy that can go sit at a campfire. I don't drink beer. I'm not a guy that goes sit at a campfire and drink beer for 5 or 6 hours. I tend to go with the whiskey, and that doesn't last for 5 or 6 hours. You kind of keel over. So, so it's just that aspect of it helped me. And I'm just, everybody I talk to, there's different aspects of this particular program has given them a way to do something that they enjoy, radio, in a slightly different way, and often mixing it with, we were talking about 3D printing on one of the streams a couple days ago. It's a perfect thing to go with, and 3D printing goes with everything. Don't get me wrong, but all of us have these other different hobbies, or interests, and it's giving us a way to potentially tie whether you're a climber or you just like to go hang out in parks, you're a naturalist, you like to go bird watching. Well, you can do bird watching and then go play radio, or you can go fish and then go play radio. So it's a very portable twist on radio as opposed to sitting in your basement at your in your shack. My shack lives in the backseat of my truck most of the time.
Right. Well, another thing about Parks on the Air is it has introduced a lot of people to some of the YouTube groups.
Yeah.
I mean, they were out there already, but Parks on the Air has a huge following, and some of these guys do a lot of Parks on the Air videos, like N6NRD. You know, he was probably one of the first few guys that put Pota videos on YouTube. He was one of the first ones that I watched when I heard about Pota and started wanting to look at it and see what it was. I saw a couple of his videos. He was having a great time. He has this thing, and you know, he gets a big head if somebody talks about him, but he has this way of making you know that he's having a great time, you know, and people will try to do what he does. And just like me, he started doing these hiking videos with his 705. That's pretty much all he's doing right now. Well, that got me and my big self out and thinking, you know what? I'm doing QRP. I want to do what he does. I want to go find a trail, go put an antenna in the tree out in the middle of the woods, sit on a log and make some contacts. To me, that sounds like an awesome time. And, so I started putting together a little go kit where I can do those types of things. And that's what I'll do. It isn't because he's doing it. It's because he brought it out as a thing you can do, And I think that a lot of these guys have done that. I have a YouTube channel, and I hope that one day somebody watches something I do and think, you know what, I want to do that and get out in a park with a radio and, have a good time,
Hey, I want to go to Alaska.
Yeah.
I want to do that. So there you go. You've reached your goal. Set your next one.
I've always wanted to go to Alaska, and I always wanted to travel there. I've done a lot of traveling, and I never would have thought in a million years that the reason I would actually go to Alaska was to talk on the radio. And we didn't do a lot of sightseeing while we were there. I mean, we saw a lot of beautiful places because we were in them. We actually stayed in tents and we went to the parks and we did the thing. I mean, we were really seeing Alaska. We didn't go to the glamorous places and the eateries. We were there on the trail. And so that made me want to go back and made me go back for longer so I can do more ham radio and do a little sightseeing while I'm there. But, I've been to a lot of beautiful places, but I've never been to a place where I looked left and said, oh my gosh, look at that mountain. And then I'd look right and say, oh my gosh, look at that glacier, and then I'd look the other way and say, oh, look at that beautiful stream. It was just everything you saw. It was just awesome. And
you forgot the other direction of, oh, hey, look, that's a tree. I should have put the antenna.
Yeah. And that's kind of what I was about to say, and all those beautiful places that I was excited about, I got to sit down and work radio there too. I mean, you just couldn't. You haven't seen it yet, but the first night that we camped at a place called Kasilof Beach. It was a deserted beach. It was beautiful. We were watching the otters play. We set up our tents. We set up the hex beam. Across the bay was 2 volcanoes. It was just one of the most beautiful sights that I'd ever seen. And I've seen a lot of stuff. And, to be able to sit there and play radio, it was almost like something you could think of in a dream, but you never thought you could do it. Looking at all those sights and, it was, it's, people think it's silly. Some people do. I mean, just like today, I was like, yes, I work, Mike. And they're like, who's Mike? But I was excited about it. It was a goal for me because he's worked a lot of POTA, so have I, and we've not ever had a contact with each other. And, I've been following his YouTube stuff for a long time. He's a great guy. I consider him a friend. Talked to him on the phone. He's just a super nice guy, and he doesn't care who you are. He wants you to do POTA. And, I don't know. It's just, and there's a lot like that. The guys at the Ham Radio Clubhouse, every one of them are the same way. And Jim, he was the first guy to reach out to us. He said, hey, man, I like this Alaska idea. I want you to come talk about it. That's the first time I'd really had anything to do with any of the guys that I had been watching for a while. I'm like, what? you contacted me,
Yeah.
and I don't know. There's just a lot of influencers out there, and that's what they're called. That's what they are. I mean, some of those people use it in a bad term, but I think it's a good term. I think that a lot of them give you an opportunity to see what you can do, how you can do it. It's up to you to go do it. They're already doing the thing,
Yep.
And so anyway, that's my little rant for the day. I really think it's super nice.
That's interesting you said it, because when I'm sorry, wow,
James.
yes,
Jim James.
I know your name because it's mine. I couldn't get it out.
Jim James, whatever he answers
when
to.
He contacted me this morning and said, "Hey, would you be interested in coming on the stream tonight?" I'm just like, "Whoa, I have arrived." It's like
that's how you feel.
Yeah, it's like when I first talked to Mike, Park to Park. It's like that's a little achievement. It's funny that I'm a 40-year-old and those things get me going, and so I recognize what you were saying about those little things. A lot of people don't care. My wife's like, "Who's Mike?"
Well, our local county newspaper, it's been out forever. We all read it here in this county. They did a big article about us going to Alaska and put pictures in there and talked about it, and interviewed us and got some stuff to put in there. And I thought that was pretty cool. And one thing I told the the reporter, the guy that wrote the article, I was like, before we went, it was like our equivalent of the talk shows. We went on a couple of different streams and talked about our trip, and it was like going on a talk show. I mean, just like somebody famous, got going on talk shows to promote your movie or whatever. We got to make our rounds talking about our Alaska trip, and so we got our 10 minutes of fame. But it was cool, and met a lot of good guys, and a lot of good friends, and it was fun.
I think it's a good example of, if you do something interesting to people, there are other people who want to give you whatever platform they have, however big it is, to talk about the thing. And the hot air balloon is the recent.
I was just fixing to bring that up.
Yeah. They did something interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And like your Alaska trip, it didn't go exactly as planned. They were hoping to stay up a couple hours, ended up being a lot shorter because, hey, weather, wind, Texas.
Right.
Texas. It's all Texas' fault. I grew up in Texas. I'm allowed to say that.
It's the environment.
Yeah. It's just, those are things you can't control.
Just like us, the last day we were up there, the propagation, there was nothing, and we can't control that. We had our gear, we had what we needed, just didn't work in our favor that day. And but the balloon thing was pretty awesome. I won't lie. I told Shane, I was like, man, I wish I'd have thought of that. That's because we all like to do those things that are different. Like Carlos, man, that is just an awesome. I mean, I don't think you can top that. The balloon thing was pretty awesome, but you can't top jumping out of an airplane, unrolling an antenna, and wow, this guy's pretty awesome for that. But everybody's got their own little thing that brings a little bit of the hobby with him. He's already jumping out of planes. He's probably been doing that for a long time. Yeah. So he's just bringing a little bit of the hobby with him. And
I forget how many thousands of jumps he says he's done or something. Like he's been doing it a while. But again, to my point is, we all have these other hobbies, and you can find a way, even if it's as seemingly separate as radio and parachuting, skydiving.
Yeah,
you can make them work together.
Yeah,
and that's it just I'm excited about where we're going with ham radio. Pota is just one example of that. But we had islands on the air and lighthouses on the air for years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's been around for quite a while.
Yeah.
But the one thing that I felt years ago, those were kind of islands and lighthouses. Now, some lighthouses are pretty accessible, but that was kind of an elite thing, the islands especially, because you had to be able to get to the island.
Right.
Whereas Pota, it can literally be your backyard.
Yep, it's right down the road.
The next town over, right down the road, whatever it is. Now, unfortunately, some of the guys out west, they got to drive for 5 hours to get anywhere near a park that's on the list, unfortunately. But, it makes it more accessible. And I have to say, I do not ever want to speak well of a pandemic. But the influx we've had of new hams in the last year and a half, I forget what the numbers are. Somebody published numbers, but like the number of new hams and upgrades, myself included,
Yeah.
in the last year and a half, because we had to slow down and we had time to think, okay, what can we do to improve our lives or amuse ourselves? And those of us who were hams for a long time, oh, okay, I guess I don't have an excuse for not upgrading now, right?
Yeah, had plenty of time to study.
Yep, yeah, exactly. So, I think we're going to see, as a lot of those new hams in the last year and a half get comfortable and they get their equipment, because not everybody can get equipment right away, right? But as they get equipment, they get comfortable. I think we're going to see the hobby. I think we're going to see a growth, and not just in Pota.
Well, right before the pandemic and during the beginning of the pandemic, I taught a class here locally for technicians. I had roughly 20 people that came and took a class one night a week for a month, and then the last class we gave the exam. And so we got a good bit of people introduced to the hobby that during that class. And I did another one after that. It was a little smaller, but we had a big area, and we were able to separate everybody out, and do the things we needed to do to be safe. But we still was able to promote the hobby. But the other thing that's getting a lot of ham radio people involved right now is the 2A stuff, the right stuff. We've got a lot of quote patriots. I'm not getting political. There's a lot of groups out there, and they want to learn how to deal with situations or crises or whatever may happen or whatever, and they want to get prepared for communication. So they're all, getting in the hobby, and that's a good thing. I don't care what reasoning they have. They're wanting to get in the hobby for communications, and so we've got around here. There's a lot of people doing that. We got another class that I can teach right now if I wanted to, but with the pandemic starting back up the way it is, we really don't want to take a risk of putting everybody together right now. So we're going to hold off a little while and see what happens. But anyway, that's been a lot of influx into the hobby too.
Yeah.
All right, guys. It's midnight here on the East Coast, so I'm going to touch on a couple of things that we talked about, and then I'll wrap it up. You two hang out for a minute, and we'll chat in the after chat. Real quick, I wanted to say, with the whole thing about, you said about the DMR and stuff like that. I don't care what you do in ham radio. If you want to do DMR, if you want to talk on your local repeater, if you want to do FT8, if you want to do anything, I don't care if your passion is repairing old radios. Just get into ham radio and do it. Have fun. That's what it's all about. And don't ruin it for somebody else. If somebody else does something that you don't like in ham radio, let them do it. What's it hurting you? And you guys mentioned the cards coming in the mail. If you send me a card, I do send them back. I know I'm slow, but I get a lot of cards, guys, and I love it. I appreciate it. I mean, I live for this. It reminds me of my childhood, going to check the mail for my dad. But I draw the limit on one book of stamps a week. So, I'm behind probably, it looks like about 50 cards right now. And now, if you send a stamped envelope with your card, it goes out right then and right there. But I will get everybody who sends me a card. I promise you. And get out there and have ham radio. I was going to talk about the giveaway tonight, but we went long. I did talk about the Patreon giveaway. So if you're interested in that, hook it up. Make sure and subscribe to Dwayne. Subscribe to me. James is going to get a YouTube pretty soon. And when he does, cool. Subscribe to him. And
maybe if I can figure out the editing thing.
Put us all on Hamilverts, and maybe you guys can get that feeling like we get when we work certain people, when you get us. So I appreciate everybody, and have a good night. 73.
73, guys.